What value is there for one to challenge them back, get with the prospect?
Is one of the major reasons for why people have such a negative association with salespeople, with cold calling. It's this kind of behavior. All right, welcome back to another edition of, I have no idea what the hell we're going to call this thing, Ryan, but I'm Ronen Pessar. I've got my professional business partner, Ryan Reisert, here.
Oh, this time you're not going to use the partner?
I know where that went last time. We're excited to have another episode with you guys today. Today we're going to talk about talent. It probably won't be the only time we're going to talk about this, but it's a good one. What are the top things that we look for? What are the top things that we avoid at all costs? Let's dive into it. This is what we do. It's like we find incredible top 1 to 5% cold calling talent, and it just, when you lose them, it hurts. Let's talk about it. What makes a great cold caller?
What makes a great cold caller? Well, I mean, the very first trait, which seems obvious, but it's somebody who isn't afraid to actually dial. As crazy as that sounds, most people will use the excuse of, oh, I need to take a moment, look at their LinkedIn profile, look at their website, look at their whatever. There's excuses to not click the next dial. So someone who can take any list at any given time and just click dial, that's like the first thing that I look for when we do our trial by fires, and we get people in the system. You quickly run through it. You just log in, click dial, and go. There's no hesitancy to hit the dial button.
Yeah, it's like that. It's that willingness, because there's underlying it like a confidence, they have the capacity. People who, and I used to be this person too when I was brand new to it. When you're new to cold calling in the SDR world, you're afraid of the phone. You're afraid of the rejection, so you don't do it. That's not the person that we go to find for our clients and hire and work with, and those aren't the ones who are successful. The ones who are successful are those other ones. It's the ones who are, like you just said, next call, next call, next call, next call. They just keep going.
Well, that's an indicator, right? It's important that they're not over-indexing on that, so that they just do it and they never learn from having a conversation. But it's super important that they have that in their blood to just click the dial button. And the reason why I say that is you don't want somebody who just does that aimlessly and never actually thinks, who am I calling? What should I say? How am I prepared for the conversation? But if they don't just click go, then they're going to have all those issues. One, to make the call in the first place, and then two, to make the follow-up call. What do I say after they rejected me the first time? Will I make that follow-up call, which we know is the most important call to make, right? So it doesn't matter what happens in that first conversation because I'm collecting information. I might have botched the call, but did I get through? Is it the right person at the account in the first place? Are they receptive to even having a conversation? And then again, if I botch it, doesn't matter because I can always follow up. But when I get to my follow-up, that's when I want somebody who sits down and says, okay, last time they said this time I'm going to take it this direction. So they need to have a brain. That's number two. So they need to hit. The
SDR IQ is high, aka your conversational IQ, the ability to put the notes from the last conversation and take it into the present moment. I'm going to get them back on the phone. All right, well, if last time they told me it was not now because they're looking at something else and they're not going to look at new technology like the one I'm calling about, when I get them on the phone, hey, last time we spoke, it sounded like you were in the middle of evaluating something else. You had told me to try you back. Now, how did that end up going? What did you guys decide to do?
Exactly.
You know where to pick it up. You're no longer a complete stranger. And that's probably part of the reason why we see a 2 to 3x increase in positive outcomes, activations from those follow-up calls.
Well, there's a lot of data that goes into that, but the purpose of this is talent. So on the talent side, number one, I have to not fear making the next dial. Number two, I have to have a brain. I have to be able to collect information properly and leverage that in follow-ups. The next piece is somebody that is actually coachable and will listen. That's a real problem with some people. If we go back to that one person who's just going to dial and not have a brain, is when they get feedback, can they incorporate that quickly?
Yeah.
So most of the people we come across that meet those first two criteria still lack the ability to make adjustments to what they're comfortable with. And we institute a pretty novel approach to calling. And when it clicks for somebody who's coachable, they get it, they incorporate it, and they start to see those level gains. But sometimes it takes quite a bit of effort.
Well, and there's nothing worse than the like SDR who you've told the same coaching point to for 3 months in a row, and they're just not changing week to week to week. Like that coachability, it's so important. Like without that growth piece, the person just can't go beyond where they're at. And there's no one perfect. Like it's rare to find someone who's got it all from day one and who's ready to go. But if they have this willingness to like take the coaching, work with it, you'll see the improvement and they become good over time, especially in our system when you're having 40 conversations a day.
Well, and that's one of the things that I think is, I guess, is the next phase is like it's not just about being coachable, but it's also being able to learn from all the information that they're capturing. Like that 1%er is someone that, again, doesn't fear the dial, has a brain, can adapt and follow up, coachable, can adjust and be comfortable trying new things. But that last piece is like they also need to become an expert over a period of time. And in our system, right, it doesn't take long for someone to collect enough information where they can start to, take something that's being said over and over and over and now incorporate that into our conversation, right? In Call Blitz this week, there's a founder actually in the community, and he's learning, he's pretty good. But in his conversation, the prospect's using these new words that I think are super valuable. I catch those things quickly in just like one or two conversations. Like he's using something that I would want to use in my next conversation when I'm talking to an industrial manufacturer in that persona, right? It was something called like wrench time, right? So like coming up with these keywords, if someone says, "Oh, I'm trying," like it's all about optimizing for wrench time, right? How quick can you pick that up so you can yes, yeah. How quickly can you start to use that type of thing so I'm not just stuck in my, You know what we call that? Track.
That's like call that insider lingo. It's like
Correct.
there's like when it comes to lingo, not to go too far down a separate topic, but you've got like marketing jargon to avoid at all costs and insider lingo that you want to learn and use as much as possible.
Like in real estate, if you call, you're calling realtors, you don't want to say realtor, right? They're like, they know it's a realtor, it's not a realtor. And so like little things like that, where you're immediately spotted as an outsider versus like becoming an insider.
Becoming an insider. Yeah. It's that insider lingo. It shows, it signals like I'm one of you, which develops trust. And that it's almost, if you weren't able to break it down this clearly, it's almost like this intangible skill. Like, oh, this guy's just really good on the phone to building trust. It's like, well, no, this person is aware of the pattern.
You're picking up on patterns in conversations
and insider lingo. And yeah.
So how do you adopt to that? And that's not coachable. I mean, it can be coachable. You can bring that up as a coach, but the reps that really exceed are the ones that can pick it up for themselves. Right? I'm hearing these patterns. Right? I'm hearing that these are common words, phrases, and sentences that are being used in the industry. How do I adopt that as quickly as possible and bring that into my next conversation?
Right.
And then the last piece is someone that is truly competitive. Like, you don't have to be an introvert or an extrovert. That's kind of a conversation point that happens in the market, right? Like, a lot of people think that in order to be successful in cold calling, you have to be an extrovert.
Not true.
It's not true. You need to have someone who's competitive. That's super key. We used to call these sales athletes when we did the SDR league, right? For a good reason, right? Somebody who has this competitive bone in their body where they internally want to be better. They're constantly competing with themselves and others and have this like drive to not be okay with the status quo and never really stop pushing the limit on what's possible, right? They don't just take it for granted that they hit a specific metric. They don't stop at whatever the leadership is desiring them to do, whether that's an activity metric, it's an outcome metric. They're not stopping at the end of the day. They're constantly going as far as they can go. They're going through the whistle, right? In sports, play through the whistle. Or if you're tackling someone, go through the body. It's this drive that I believe is a competitive thing. That's the only way I can say that, right? It's not like I haven't found anybody who's really, really good who doesn't want to win.
Yeah, I think
winning is in their DNA. It's like it's this like no matter what they do, they want to win.
They
You
want to
know?
win. It's that competitive drive, the desire to win. In the I don't know if you're familiar with Strength Finders, but they have one of their like 36 strength types. I think they call this maximizer. It's the person who wants to keep maximizing the ability. If you think about like what professional athletes do, that's what they're essentially doing. They're maximizing
Right.
like a very finite set of skills in a very specific context. It's like having that for in your cold calling, outbound sales, being able to have a conversation, drive it forward, and do these other things to adapt and learn. That's a superpower for people
Right.
who have this strength of being a maximizer.
Absolutely. And I think that the other thing that's interesting is not just the traits that make them successful, but also the traits that you want to look out for that might feel like you're in these buckets. Right. So like let's go back again to the things you want to avoid, even though they're checking these boxes. Like, okay, so someone who's willing to click dial, but then when they're clicking dial and they're getting connects, for example, they try to turn anybody who picks up the phone into something. This irks me all the time with the callers because they're so
Thirsty.
thirsty. There's like the too salesy. They're like,
Yeah.
well, like my targeting's off. You're at the wrong company, but let me go ahead and see if I can turn this into something that shouldn't be turned into something. And they do that constantly instead of, again, from the coachability perspective, is like, stop doing that. Like it's like you can get the information from that individual, but if you're targeting company A and you reach this person and they're no longer there, get some information about that. But then these reps that always try to turn that one person that they have into an outcome, it's like you target companies and you sell to people, stop it, right? So it's like this inability to turn off the switch because they're so focused on, again, here's the dial and then the I always want to win component, but they're winning in the wrong ways. Like they're trying to maximize the wrong outcome. Like, again, meetings. Oh, look, I got another booking. And they think that they're so good because they're booking anyone that gets on the phone. But the reality is, like, I don't want you to book everyone that's on the phone. Like, you should have a brain, do these activities, and realize that something's off. That's something to avoid.
Well, yeah, and we know fundamentally that meetings do not matter. What matters is conversations and learning where the company that the prospect is at, where they're at in terms of their buying readiness and maturity for the product that you have. And if you can identify that, then you can figure out, is this a good account for now, for never? Is it the right person, the wrong person? You know, if it's a fit, if it's a now, then the salesperson needs to follow up, or you try to set the meeting as part of a way to activate that.
Right. This goes back to incentive as well. So like this individual that you have, if they're too focused on me and my comp plan and my ability to game the system for whatever it is that someone's paying me for, and they don't actually look at the downstream impact of what that means to the entire organization, they're not really bought into the success of the company. And what I mean by that is you got a rep that's going to hit the calls, is coachable, has a brain, is competitive, but is sitting there and saying, look, I booked my meetings and I'm getting my revenues. I don't care if that's turning into customers for the organization, and those customers that we're bringing on are the right types of customers. Like there's got to be this buy-in
integrity.
to
It's integrity. It's like that next level of like, do they understand the full cycle, that they're a part of the greater whole, instead of like what you probably see so often, which is like, it's just about my number and my quota. I don't care if this actually helps the company or not.
Yeah, I don't care. I booked it. That's all. I get it. My goal is this. I mean, I hear this so many times from people, or I see it. I mean, I've been a part of these cold call competitions with these different people that are these just like sleazy ass callers. They might sound good on the phones. They're not afraid to call anybody, but when they're in conversations with the prospect, they're telling lies. They're like, oh, I said that because, they're using, phraseology that is
slimy,
and they're doing it to get to that outcome that isn't beneficial for anybody. Like,
yeah, it's like they learned from like Grant
tactics.
Cardone or like Jordan Belfort or like one of these guys who are like at any cost sell anyone anything.
Right. It's like that. To me, you might be a good caller. You might even consider yourself a good salesperson. But like to me, I think the industry is sick of salespeople because of that. Yeah. It's that character. It's that idea that the other person on the other side is just a dollar sign and not another human. This gets me a lot because it's what I believe gives cold calling or calling in general, sales in general, such a bad
Just a bad
reputation.
rep, yeah.
And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are quote unquote good, but they don't have that like integrity, both for their company as well as the person that they're actually selling to. Like they're just doing things that frankly I don't think are advantageous to long-term sustainable success within an organization, and you'll see that with their kind of track record, right?
Yeah.
They're probably jumping from company to company. Comes to mind when I talk about this whole entire thing, right? The guy, you know, the guy has this
Oh my
reputation,
God.
and you can just see it go through the market, and then he calls out everybody else because he's the bad guy. But if you look at his practices, he's doing this type of thing, right? And I hate to even use that guy's name, but he's a perfect example of this, right? Probably pretty good on the phone, has all the right skills, but his integrity is not there. And at the end of the day, that type of mindset in an organization, the people that they're around, etc., it's not going to have a long-term positive impact on the organization. Culturally speaking, those individuals, if they get into your company, while they might move the needle in a short period of time, long term, it's going to be a big problem. These are the same people that bitch and moan about their prospects hanging up them on the phone. They're the ones that post about,
Right.
oh my God, I called a salesperson and they hung up on me, and then they post these like ridiculous
Yeah.
emails and all this. That's the individual you want to avoid at your organization. Your job as a cold caller is difficult because yes, you personally want to try to help people, but not everybody that you call is going to be receptive to you. And what value is there for one to challenge them back, get shitty with the prospect when they're on the phone? I see this and it's like you got to avoid that individual.
Well, and
They cut back on them, they push back on them, they
yeah,
say stupid shit. It's like that has
it's
bad
it's
reputation.
awful. It's slimy, and I agree with you. Totally is one of the major reasons for why people have such a negative association with salespeople, with cold calling. It's this kind of behavior. And I think in large part, a lot of that behavior is due to like, if I'm not sure if I can ever get this person back on the phone, I'm going to do all sorts of things that are in my interest and not the prospect's interest or my company's interest to just try to push them into something. And I think this is one of the big fundamental shifts that when I started seeing the system that now we build for clients, how it works and how you can get anyone that picks up back on the phone and you can have multiple conversations with the same person over 3, 6, 9 months, you can let go of that need to turn one conversation into anything other than where it's naturally and organically going to go for the prospect, because I know I can get that person back on the phone. So this one conversation isn't going to be judged on the value of it being a meeting versus actually learning something and having a good conversation with this person and following up if it's appropriate to do the follow-up. When I go to do my follow-up, they're going to pick up again. And it's like,
what's the so that makes sense in the like maybe I can get something out of it. But what I'm trying to get into right now is that situation where you do have an asshole that is barking at you a little bit. Like when the rep has this mindset of like, let me get back at them, their ego comes into play. It's like there's no benefit to that. Like you're wasting energy, you're letting negativity come into your life, and then you're just like down and you can't get back into the next calls. Like, no, always be professional, always be respectful. There's no point of like being an asshole back to somebody. And by the way, you don't know what's going on in that person's life.
totally.
And you were doing something that they didn't like ask for.
Unsolicited. It's cold calling.
That right there is the thing I'm talking about, because it's like no solicitation is the mindset of an individual an individual who has had to deal with solicitors that are fucking doing all this shit we're talking about, which is stop it. Like just stop doing that. If we could find a world where the individuals that were making these calls had the right DNA and they weren't doing shit like that, it would make it easier for the industry. Unfortunately, we don't see that.
Well, a lot of people don't see that. But if you're looking for great cold callers like this, reach out to me or Ryan. This is part of what we do for our clients. And well, this was a good one. Talent is always at the heart of the operation, the hardest but one of the most important pieces of everything.
This is round 3 of us doing this. And, if you've found this new content and you're liking these episodes, you like this format, make sure to subscribe to the channel. So send in your comments. If there's topics you want us to address, let us know. And also, if you think someone else could get value from this as we're growing this, make sure to share with your network. Ronen and I are committed to trying to do this regularly on a consistent basis, and brain dumps are here. So we have lots of topics coming from the front lines that we deal with every single day. We're to come in and rant and joke and play, and today was a little bit more serious, I guess, as we think through talent, because it's an important element. But again, if you like this, like, comment, share, give us your feedback, and let us know if there's any topics you want us to cover in next future episodes.
I'll see you on the next one.